How many of you think you're free? Nobody? That's good. How many of you realize you're still a slave? Nobody. Same people. Pay attention. If you're not a slave and you're your own people, what language do you speak? You speak English. You answered me in English with that, but I appreciate it. You speak English. That's not your native tongue. What's your last name? It's a white man's last name. Campbell. We know that's not a brother's last name. We know that's not Jake's last name. You say you're from another country. You say you're from Africa. What part of Africa? When did you get here? Who brought you here? Another problem people have is they don't understand what breaking the laws of the Most High means. You don't think the laws exist. You don't understand how do we break the laws and how does he punish us. That's right. But let me make you understand the God that you serve and how you break his laws so you can understand the God that you should be serving. Here, right, a lot of you, now I'm free, I don't have to do this, I ain't got no job, I make my own money. The reason you're doing that is because you were punished for not following the system correctly, and you had to push yourself into a corner and make your own money. You had to sell drugs because you broke the rules. You didn't go to school like you were supposed to. So you broke the rules of the God of this earth, and now you have to sell drugs, but you want to pretend that you're free. You're not free. You're a slave, and you're worse than that, right? Give me Isaiah 30, right? We're going to talk about this country specifically and trusting in this country. Another thing, right? We think we're free, and that's okay, right? We want to gain things. We want to be equal to our enemy, and that's okay in this society. But here's the problem. The time of day that we're in now, you're not going to be equal, and it's never going to happen. This country is falling around you. The world is falling. You are not going to be in an equal standing with your enemy at all. Because let's say you achieve all these things, you achieve the money, you achieve the car, you got the house and everything else, but now a knock on your door comes and you didn't get the vaccine. What's going to happen to everything that you gained? What is it going to be worth to you when you lose it? Your freedom is gone, or the privileges that you thought you gained will be removed from you. And you're going to be put into a corner, and you're going to have to choose between the world that you want and serving God, if you know that you're even supposed to serve Him. So it's going to be easy for you to take the mark if you don't know what it is, if you don't understand the God of the Bible. So we're going to explain that to you. I don't want to go into too much rhetoric. Isaiah 31. We're going to talk about this country.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 1. Woe to the rebellious children.
So woe to the rebellious children. He is talking about us. Woe to the rebellious children, because if you pay attention, God, or the true name of God, has been removed from this earth. Even in the name of Christ, the little bit that you had, that's removed also. No one has any regard for anything spiritual or biblical. No one has any regard for anything outside of themselves. That's even right. Your so-called spirituality is about yourself and what you want. That's not spirituality. You have no understanding, right? Go ahead. Woe to the rebellious children. That's us, because we rebel against God by not knowing who He is, nor who we are, and how we're supposed to serve Him. Go ahead.
Said the Most High, that take counsel, but not of me.
You take counsel, you get this knowledge, you get this wisdom and understanding, but it is not of the Most High God. It is of the world. It is even of Satan, which is why He's calling you rebellious. You get this counsel and this understanding of this spirituality that has nothing to do with this book, right? That makes you rebellious. You're rebelling against Him because you don't want to know who He is, as He's giving you opportunity. Go ahead.
And that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin.
So you cover with the covering, right? So you say you're covered by the Most High, but He said you cover with a covering that's not mine. So He didn't cover you in this world. It looks like it. You might have been blessed with a few things, but He's not covering you. You don't know who He is. You have some blessings from Him, but that's only for you to get back to and understand who He is. You're covering with a covering that's not His. A lot of you are, believe it or not, are covered by the world, and you're covered by Satan. This is why things go wrong in your life. This is why things happen to you, right? The Most High is trying to show you through the negative things happening, but you don't see it. So we're here to connect those dots. Go ahead.
That walk to go down into Egypt.
So Egypt represents oppression. Egypt in this represents bondage and slavery. So you walk back to your oppression. Go ahead.
And have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh.
So you're willing to go back to where you came from, to your oppression, and didn't ask for wisdom from the Most High to how to even deal or how to walk amongst this oppression. You walked back and you didn't even seek counsel from the Most High God. You sought counsel from men. Because a man is going to tell you how to navigate. If you don't have an education and you're down in the hood in the projects, that man's going to tell you how to navigate those projects. You're seeking counsel, but not from the Most High God. Go ahead.
And to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame.
So the strength of Pharaoh is your shame. That's what happens when you vote. You vote for the strength of Pharaoh. You vote for the very people that oppress you. That's the strength of Pharaoh. So now, many of you voted for Joe Biden because you were anti-Trump. So that is the strength of your Pharaoh. The people before voted for Trump. That is the strength of Pharaoh. Understand, look at Trump's last name. Before all of this happened, what is the warning sign that the Most High said he would send before he sent destruction? A trumpet, right? So Trump came, that was the Trump prior to this destruction you see coming. And now that you don't see it coming, you take this vaccine, you get locked into this world. And now you're bite or bond to it. You see how things work? How there's a play in everything? You heard of Trump, you ignored it, and now you're Biden, or you're bound to what's going on now. Go ahead.
Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion.
See, so you trusted in Pharaoh and you're ashamed now. Many of you were so anti-Trump, and again, that doesn't mean I like or appreciate Trump. He's an example. You hated him so much that you went through Biden, and now you're ashamed that you even voted for him because you don't bring his name up anything. And now it's confusion because we're like, wait a minute, I voted and I thought things were going to get better. Shame and confusion, as it says in the Bible. You trust in the shadow of Pharaoh. You didn't seek counsel from the Most High God. Matter of fact, you left God once things started getting bad. You left the church when they told you to leave the church. But you are the temple of the Most High.
That's right.
So you left the building and you left your spirituality in a building. That's terrible. You allowed the Satan's world to make you afraid and push you into a corner and do what he says and not the Most High God. That should be shameful. That's the shame he's talking about also. Go ahead.
For his princes were at Zon, and his ambassadors came to Hanaz.
Right.
They were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them.
Ashamed of a people that could not profit them. Go ahead.
Nor be in help nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach.
So a shame and reproach. These people cannot help you. They've shown you that they can help you. Let me change that. They won't help you. And they will help you only to a certain degree, to a certain level, and then they will leave you flat because you cannot equate to them. You will not equate to the devil in the devil's world. He will keep you low and he will keep you under his foot. But you trust in them. You trust in his shadow. Go ahead.
The burden of the beast of the south into the land of trouble and anguish, from whence come the young and old lion, the viper and the fairy flying serpent. They will carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a people that shall not profit them.
Right, so you're going to carry all your goods and all the things that you did, all your works, all the education and everything you did. You're going to say, look what I did. And these people are not going to help you. What does your bachelor's degree mean when you don't take the vaccine? Nothing. What does your car mean when you don't take the vaccine? Nothing. What is your house? Nothing. They're going to take it from you. You're going to carry all this stuff to them, and it means absolutely nothing. This is the end of materialism. This is the end of carnality, and you have to see it as it's occurring. You have to realize there's a warning. That is why we are out here warning you not to trust in this country. Right. You should have known that already. Just by mere history, you already should have known that. Just by 2 years ago, what did Kamala and Biden say? Oh, because Trump made a vaccine, you take it? I wouldn't take it, but now that his name is there, all of a sudden you're supposed to take it. And unfortunately, I don't mean this against you, but you were stupid enough to believe that. That this white man was any different than the last white man that held that same position.
That's right.
Every president did you dirty. Every one of them. And what do white people do when you talk to them? Oh, because Trump, okay, they go before Trump. Oh, because Obama, oh, before Obama. Oh, because of Bush.
Right,
the blame keeps going back. They move it one back. It's the same. It's the same. But keep reading.
Verse 7. For the Egyptians shall help in vain, and to no purpose. Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still.
Right? So the Egyptian, or read that again, read that again.
For the Egyptians shall help in vain and to no purpose.
So some of them may try to help you with these things, but it's vain and no purpose. What good can they, all they can give you is materialism. All they can give you is reparations. But again, what does reparations mean when the economy is disappearing? So, oh, you want reparations? Here's $20 million each, and then the dollar goes to zero. What do you have? Nothing. But what you have is shame, because you trusted that the people, that the Egyptians were going to help you. Their job is to sit still. They are not to help you. Go ahead.
Therefore have I cried concerning this. Their strength is to sit still. Now go, write it before them in a table.
So write it before them in a table. Make sure this is known. Go ahead.
And note it in a book.
And note it in the book. Why? We go back and we look over these things, right?
That it may be for the time to come.
That is for the time to come. So it's not necessarily at the time that this was written, because remember, this is Isaiah. They were already out of Egypt. So he's talking about a later time. But he's also talking about all times, because every time we're under a rulership and we trust in that rulership and not the Most High God, we're shamed and we're confounded and we're confused and we're destroyed all over again. That's why the Bible's repetitive. We have to deal with the same lessons over and over and over until we get it. But this is the very last opportunity, thank you, sir, for us to get it, right? It says a righteous man falls what? 7 times. This is the 7th captivity, is it not? You will not fall again. This is the 7th time. Righteous man falls 7 times, 7th captivity. You have to understand now. You have no time outside of this. Right, go ahead.
That it may be for the time to come forever and ever. That this is a rebellious people.
Now he's back to us. You are a rebellious people because you don't learn it. You keep bucking against the Most High. Go ahead.
Lying children.
Lying children.
Children that will not hear the law of the Lord.
Children that will not hear the law of the Lord. Children don't like to hear rules from parents. In the same way, we don't like to hear the rules from the Most High God. This is why we rebel, because he's telling us that who we are. He's literally telling us who you are is not good enough. I'm going to make you better. I'm going to prevent you from making these mistakes if you follow this law. I'm going to make you come into my kingdom if you follow these laws. But we don't like laws. This land and these people taught us how to be rebellious, how to be vain. Now, we did it already because we rebelled against God. But they taught us how to master it, how to master not dealing with the Most High, how to master being of your own mind. And that's what we learned in this society. So we're rebellious people. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Which say to the seers, see not.
So now, which say to the seers, see not. So the seers are the people that see what's going on. And we're out here to tell you. But you say to them, see not. You imagine that. When you learn something, you found out something deep, and you go home and tell your wife or your mother, or you tell somebody, you know what I found that the government's doing, and what do? Yeah, I don't want to hear that. Or they turn it back. Oh, you know what? Or they start talking about something else. So they say to the seer, see not. I don't want you to see this, because it frightens them. Because the reality starts to set back in. Because their spirit knows something is wrong, and they would rather ignore it. Go ahead.
And to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things.
So they say to the prophets, don't prophesy right things, which is the same thing they say to the seer. Don't see it. Well, don't tell us the right thing to do. Don't tell us to follow his laws, statutes, and commandments. Don't tell us to follow his testimonies, right? Do what?
Speak unto us smooth things.
Say something smooth. Talk to me like T.D. Jakes. Talk to me like Creflo Dollar. Let me hear how good I am. Let me hear how great I am and how much money I'm going to make and how I'm going to prosper in this world. Prophesy unto us smooth things. Yo, how am I going to get that Lexus right there, man? When am I going to get that crib? That's what's being prophesied in the churches now. Go ahead.
Prophesy deceit.
Lie to us. Literally go to church to be lied to. You go to church so you can feel good. You are lied to. Prophesy to us deceits. Go ahead.
Get ye out of the way.
Get out of the way. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to live my best life. And every time I do something, you bring up what's happening in the world. Every time I do something, you bring up sin. Every time I go out Saturday, you tell me it's the Sabbath. Get out of the way. That's what's being said. Go ahead.
Turn aside out of the path.
Turn aside out of the path. So they want you to turn aside out of the path. The little bit that you got, that the Messiah tells you to hold on to, they want you to turn out of the path. Because if you turn out of the path, they don't have to hear that word anymore. And then they can stay completely out of it. Go ahead.
Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us.
So notice this. All of this is saying, don't let the seer see, prophesy, the seeds turn you out of the way, get out of the way. Cause the Most High, the power of Israel, to cease from before us. In other words, disconnect me from God. All this behavior that you see around you is saying, disconnect me from God. I'm going to switch gears real quick. I'm going to read something. I want to read something to you, and I want to move it up to date. I don't want to stay up here too long, pass it to the next brother. But this is something by a white man, which is, he was writing exactly what he said, right? This is a man, and I want you to think about COVID-19, and I want you to think about the vaccine and everything else that's going on. This is Rudolf Steiner, right? Rudolf Steiner was a spiritualist back in the 1900s. So this is what Rudolf Steiner said. Spirits of darkness are going to inspire their human host to find a vaccine that will drive all inclination towards spirituality out of people's souls. So he said there's going to come a day when the spirits of darkness are going to make a vaccine to take out any thoughts you have of spirituality out of your body. That's today. That's Rudolf Steiner. Now I'm going to read you something by Aldous Huxley, right? It says, there will be in the next generation or so pharmacological method making of people who love their servitude, producing dictatorship without tears, producing a kind of painless concentration camp for entire societies so that people will in fact have their liberties taken away from them, but they will rather enjoy it. That's what's happening now. That's what people are doing now. They have their liberties taken away from them to take a vaccine, and they're telling you it's your fault. Right, transhumanism, right? All of this stuff together. Your liberties are being taken away and you're enjoying it. They're making you feel guilty because they took a vaccine. Right? It says, producing kind of painless concentration camp for entire societies, and so people will in fact have their liberties taken away from them, but will rather enjoy it, because they will be distracted from any desire to rebel by propaganda or brainwashing. Or brainwashing enhanced by pharmacological methods. Pharmacological methods. So he's saying that the medications are going to be in part what causes you to lose spirituality. What causes you the ability to not want to rebel. The sweet sodas in the store, the products and all the things they put in the food causes you not to rebel. The news media propaganda quelling your spirit, making you not want to rebel. All of this is found in the Bible. Get that Revelation 18. You know what verse it is? Read it.
And this is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 23. And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee.
So a light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. So the light of men who bring in the word of the Most High shall no longer shine. You don't see that light anymore coming soon. You understand that because as this vaccination thing goes on, you won't see the light. And hold that really quick. Understand something, right? What was the first thing they said when this vaccine was coming out? We have to push it to the African Americans and the Latinos and our people. We have to give it to them first. So what are they saying? They have to give it to minorities first. So now we're hearing what? That a large portion of society is unvaccinated. And they know the natural distrust many black people have for them. So what they're in fact saying is the unvaccinated, or the blacks, the Latinos, and the Native Americans, and the vaccinated are everybody else. So when they're telling you, when they have a show and there's going to be a vaccinated section, an unvaccinated section, that's modern day segregation via medicine. That's what every time you hear unvaccinated, hear black. Every time you hear unvaccinated, hear Latino. Every time you hear unvaccinated, hear Native American. And when you hear vaccinated, that's the rest of the world. So they want to not only make you feel guilty, but they want you to be jealous so that you'll be like them, so that you'll be like the world, that you will take in that medication. And once you take in that medication, there's going to be a set amount of time before it kicks in, and you will lose all all forms of spirituality in your body. Eventually, it's going to wear on you. So while you're still cognizant, and you can still think, and you can still think on the Bible, still think on His Word, then it's time for you to repent. Because He says, remember with Babylon, He gave her space to repent, and she repented not. If you are still breathing, you can think about the Most High, you need to pray, if you've already taken it. And if you haven't taken it, pray for strength so that you can battle it, but when they come knock on the doors, removing things from you, that you can face it. Continue with that.
And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee.
So the bride and the bridegroom, that's us, and that's the Messiah. You're not going to hear His word anymore. It's already off television. Fox News the other day did a full interview with a man dressed as a demon in a costume. A full interview. Converse's new ad is two people dressed like demons forming a five-pointed star, a pentagram. There was a show called Lucifer. Are you so blind that you don't see what's happening around you? At what point is it no longer a movie and it's a message to tell you what day and time you're living in?
How you doing, Frank?
Because I assure you the Quran did not prepare you for that. I assure you Buddha didn't prepare you for that. But the Bible, if you read it, would have prepared you and told you what time you're living in. These people on television know what they're doing, and they know who the God, the true God and Creator is. They're banking on that you don't. And that's why we're out here. That's why the candle's still lit, and we're trying to get this light into you so that you can understand. Read.
For thy merchants were the great men of the earth.
So the merchants, the people that buy and sell on large scale, the GDP and everything else, those are the great men on the earth, the men with all the money. Go ahead.
For by thy sorceries.
Notice, right, when I read to you from the two men, they said by pharmacological, right? By thy sorceries. Sorceries in Greek is pharmaceutical. So it says by thy sorceries, by thy pharmaceuticals, by the medicine, go ahead.
Were all the nations deceived.
Is this vaccine not in every country? So by the pharmaceuticals were all the nations deceived. You thought it was just going to be a big lie. You thought it was going to be this big flame coming out the sky. He knew you weren't thinking about medicine. So by the sorceries or the pharmacy, the medication, he deceived all nations. Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell him.
And by the nanotechnology also that he puts in the medication. He showed you a couple of months back when he wanted you to take a pill that can show what you took so the doctor could read it on his computer. They already were placing it into your mind to get used to the idea. This is why they keep bringing up AI and transhumanism, to get you to think part machine. This is why they made Terminator and all these other movies, so that you would start to be in love with the idea, so that you would want to put something on your skin that shows something. Look, I'm part robotic. Because the human desire is to be what? Special, to be important. And they use that against you. So they put all these ideas in the movies so they can use that against you, so when they present the idea, you'll go for it. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 24. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints.
So in her, in Babylon, in the United States, in Britain, in all the European countries, and everyone that's in power, was found the blood of prophets and saints. All the men that spoke against this Babylonian system, no matter where it is, their blood is in that land. Even if they are the people of that tribe and they didn't speak, their blood is in that land. We read earlier that blood defiles the land. So how defiled is America? How defiled is Africa? How defiled is Russia? So you understand that when the Messiah comes, it's destruction because it's defiled. It has to be renewed. It can't stay the way that it is. He's telling you to learn His law, statutes, and commandments so that you can, and the testimony of the Messiah, so that you can gain that spirituality. So when that transitions come, you're not just destroyed by it, that you're converted into a new being. That's why we're out here telling you this, to raise up that spirit. Go ahead.
And of all that were slain upon the earth.
So that's what's happening. That's the day and time that you're in. You have to understand, this is the time of your repentance. This is the time. This is that time you watch that movie, you see somebody go back in time and warn them. Well, consider us time travelers from the word of the Most High. We're telling you now, before it happens, repent. Repent means to turn your life around, to turn towards the Most High. Repent. Because what's coming, if you do not have that spiritual backing, if you do not have the kingdom behind you, it's going to be absolute destruction. And not only are you going to get destroyed physically, you're going to be destroyed spiritually also, and you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. If you think this is a pain, imagine when your spirit goes through it forever. Right, so you have to repent.
So I'm happy for you. Right. And she told us.
Right, so let me just give you these quick instructions. I finished with it last time, and hopefully you hear it. This is what you need to do before the time comes. And it doesn't mean you're not going to go through anything. It doesn't mean it's not going to be pain or anything else. But what you're doing is building a guarantee on the other side, on the spiritual side, because there's no guarantees left in this earth, except for the word of the Most High God. Right? 2 Chronicles 7:14.
It's the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 7 and verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name,
if my people which are called by my name, we're trying to get you back to the point where you remember who you are and that you are called by his name. My people hear my voice, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. If this word caught your ear, it is potential that you are one of his sheep. And the Most High says, if my people who are called by my name, what?
Shall humble themselves.
You have to humble yourself first, right? And a lot of us, as we know as a people, we're prideful and we're arrogant. You have to humble yourself first. And that comes with a word that maybe a lot of y'all understand, respect. You have to give respect to get respect, right? You got to learn how to respect one another. That will create humility, because when you respect the other person, you're willing to put your guard down. That's a form, or yourself, that's a form of humility. But people called by my name will humble themselves
And pray.
and pray. You have to pray. You have to seek the face of the Most High. Go ahead.
And seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways.
And turn from their wicked ways. Repent. Turn from their wicked ways. Go ahead.
Then will I from heaven, Salah. Then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin.
Then, after you do those things, will he hear from heaven and forgive their sin. So if you're not humbling yourself, you're not praying, and you're not seeking his face, those prayers are useless. Those prayers are absolutely useless. You're wasting your time talking to him. You have to read this word. This is why we're out here, so we can make you understand what's in this book. Go ahead.
And will heal their land.
And will heal their land. And the land he's talking about is not the United States of America, because this is not your land. Right? Go to Deuteronomy 28. Because we do acknowledge that our ancestors came here by way of slave ships. And other of our ancestors were already here prior to that, right? Did you know that this land was always called America, but it was called Americapana? That was South America and Mexico. So don't fall for the, oh yeah, well, America, the United States is new, not America itself. It was already a land, already had indigenous dark-skinned people on this land. If you read the Webster's Dictionary 1828, America is defined as coppered, colored people indigenous to the land. Then it says after that, then came the Europeans and used the name, and that is the name we use today. So America has nothing to do with white people, except for the context that we understand it now. But you and the people that were here, which John Ogilvie also thought were the Israelites, you are the Israelites of the Bible. You are the people of the book. And being the people of the book, you have a message. You have rules that you're supposed to follow by from the Most High God that he gave specifically to you. Give me Deuteronomy 28:68. How do we get to this land? How did the Israelites get here? Go ahead.
There's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So when we first started, right, we said you trust in the shadow of Egypt. That is the land of your oppression, right? So he said, I shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. I will bring you into the land of oppression again, this time by ships. Egypt and Israel close to each other. You don't take a boat to get there. However, at one point from Greece to Scetia, right, if you read the Maccabees, right, there were Israelites that were taken in slave ships with chains and were beaten on the way over. But it happened again, because this is the time after. He said you will go to Egypt again with ships, land of your oppression by ships. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
You won't see your home again. Go ahead.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Key in that verse. And there, in that land of your oppression, you will be sent to your enemies. If your ancestors came here by way of ship, According to the Bible, you were sent to the land of your enemies. Do they not portray themselves as your enemies? Do the police shoot you down in the street? Do they make sure your children are not educated? Do they keep racial boundaries getting smaller and smaller and put you into a corner? You are in the land of your enemies. Karen is showing you. Her husband is showing you that on a regular basis, but you refuse to see it. Go ahead.
And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
Slave man, slave woman, you have a price on your head in this country. All right, go ahead.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall buy you, which means free you, right? Because in order for a slave to be free, he had to have papers and buy his freedom. No man is going to be able to do that. So this is a curse that came from the Most High. So this is why Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, and all these great men, no matter how well they spoke and no matter how much you appreciated it, couldn't get you to the point of being free, because the curse said, no man shall free you. So the Messiah has to come himself in order to free you. You can hear something good and it can elevate you, but it will not get you to the point of freedom. That's why we read the law, statutes, and commandments, to get you to that Messiah that's going to free you out of this system in society. Let's prove it further who these ancestors were in Deuteronomy. Very good. So again, so now what we're going to do, so we know our ancestors came by way of ships, but how did they travel in those ships? Is there proof in the Bible? Go ahead.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore, let me start 47. Because thou servest not the Most High thy power with joyfulness. Because thou servest not the Most High thy power with joyfulness.
Because you don't serve the Most High your power, because you don't serve God with joyfulness, you hate to do it.
And with gladness of heart.
And with gladness of heart.
For the abundance of all things.
For the abundance of all things that he gave you. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High shall send against thee.
So because you didn't want to serve the Most High God with gladness and joyfulness of heart, then you will serve your enemies. So do you understand how we got here? Because you didn't want to serve me, and I didn't deal with any other nation. I spoke to you as a people specifically. I chose you as a people specifically. And since you don't want to serve me, serve your enemies, which is what we're doing up until this day. Go ahead.
Which the Most High shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst.
So in hunger and in thirst, you serve your enemies. If you need food, you have to go to your enemy's store. If you need drink, you have to buy it from your enemy's store. Go ahead.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Did the slaves not have clothes? Were they not unclothed? Tattered clothing? He said you have to serve your enemy in nakedness. If you need clothes, you have to go to your enemy. So they said there's so-called black-owned stores, but they got to go to their enemy to get the material to sell in the black-owned store. Go ahead.
And in want of all things.
So it doesn't matter what you want when you're in this country. You have to go through your enemy to get it. You want reparations, right? And your enemy has to give it to you. Think about that. Everything you want, you have to get it from him. And do you think he's going to give you enough money in his own society to overthrow him? Are you stupid? Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
So we came by way of ships, and he put a yoke of iron around your neck. Did the slaves not have yoke of iron? Go ahead.
Until he have destroyed thee.
Until he had destroyed thee. So you're saying, wait a minute, but we're still walking around. But you're destroyed mentally and spiritually. That's right. We're not unified as a people. So that is destruction. We were destroyed by our enemy. Our unification was taken away from us by the enemy. When the enemy brought us here, they put laws in that we couldn't read or write. That is destruction of a people. Because when you take their name, their language, and their belief, and you remove it, you destroyed them. They have no origin anymore. So their origin is whatever the enemy tells them. If I say you're black, you're black. If I say you're African American, you're African American, because you're destroyed. You're not a so-called natural man anymore, and I say what you are. That's the sign of a destroyed people. That's why I asked you what language did you speak and what your last name is. It's because you, as who you were before, was destroyed in this country. But the earth is opening up. The proof is coming out. The enemy that floods you with lies and philosophies is drying up. and you're starting to figure out who you are. Some of you are wearing beards and don't know why you're wearing beards. That's because you instructed you to that by the Most High. So we're trying to clue you into who you are to help you with the things that you're starting to figure out inherently. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance.
So a nation of fierce countenance. It has a strong aura that's powerful. That's this country. Go ahead.
Which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So this person, it didn't regard your grandparents, and it doesn't give a damn about your children. It will kill them and eat them alive. It is a nation of fierce countenance. Go ahead.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed.
So now you had the natives that were here, and you had us here that came and cultivated, and he will eat the fruit of the land and the cattle until it's destroyed. Everything you put your hand on, he takes it from you. Today, he does it different. We don't necessarily plant or do anything. We have homes, we have jobs, he taxes it. So the same way when we were planting things and he took the fruit from the tree, you make money, he taxes your money. You get a house, oh great, you bought the whole house, I'll tax the land around it. He will take everything from you. Go ahead.
Which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, nor oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he hath destroyed thee.
So he's going to take everything from you, even your children. Everything from you until he destroyed you, right? So we can make that more modern day. Look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look at all the Black Wall Street. Look at everything we had, right? So he said everything you set your hand to, it's going to be what? Destroyed. Right? He took everything from you, and look at the state that you're in. This is the land of your enemy, and you have to start to live as if it's your enemy. But understand, this enemy is powerful. You do not have the power to destroy him, because if you did, you would have done it already. So understand, you have the Most High God. That's how you're going to destroy this enemy. When you figure out who you are and who you were and who your power is, that's how the enemies get destroyed. Think about that. They did not want us to read this book. Right. What is it about this book that they don't like? What is it? Even they make a white character of Christ and they disrespect that white character. What is it about this book? Why is it when you go to court they don't make you swear on the Quran? Why is it when you do anything they don't make you talk to Buddha, but it's the Bible? The same Bible they tell you is foolish is the same one they make you swear on. Because they're wicked and they know who the people of God are. So if I can make you swear and lie against your God, I can destroy you further. So you have to understand how powerful this book is. And the greatest trick the devil ever played is make black people think the Bible's a white man's book. That's right. That's the greatest trick he ever played. It's not that he didn't exist. It's he made you think this is a white man's book. But the garden starts in Ethiopia. The garden starts in Iraq. All these places that are around Africa is in this book. Cush is a dark-skinned man, but you're still convinced that it's a white man's book because he fooled you. Again and again. That's the meaning of hoodwink. He threw the hood over your head, winked, and you got the brains knocked out because you think this is a white man's book you never opened. Right? Go ahead, we got more. I'm running on fuel.
Verse 62, and ye shall be left few in numbers, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude.
So we remember that at one point in time that all nations were dark-skinned people. But he said, you shall be left few in number, right? So now all the dark-skinned people going is down to the small groups of Israelites that are scattered abroad in every country. We're left few in number. Go ahead.
Because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Most High, thy power.
Because you would not obey the voice of the Most High, your power. This is why we're in the condition we're in. And the devil knows that. And he knows that sooner or later you're going to find out. So he has to start to shut everything down because he sees it coming on the horizon. He sees it coming. Take this vaccine. Let me get rid of that spirituality because it seems like you niggas still praying somehow. Take this shot so I can get that out of you. Because if you look online on YouTube, there's a video of a man saying with the vaccine that he was going to try to get it into the part of the brain that deals with spirituality. Why doesn't he want you to be spiritual? Because he's the devil. The devil doesn't want any connection to the Most High God. That's why you have to take it first. That's why they push that so hard. That's why Cuomo said, no, they got to get it. We got to get it to their neighborhoods. Again, let me finish up so the next speaker can speak. Again, vaccinated and unvaccinated. Look at it this way. Vaccinated, the world. Unvaccinated, the Most High's people. vaccinated, the European system, unvaccinated, minorities. It's segregation all over again. When you go to a concert now, you're going to have an unvaccinated section and a vaccinated section. Just like when we were back in the days in the 1960s, 50s, it's the same exact thing all over again, except now it's by way of medicine. And the reason that the black people want to be vaccinated is because there's still this desire to be like their master and their enemy. You're being pushed into a corner to choose life and death, and you don't see it. Because the death doesn't happen right away, you don't believe it's coming. That's the same trick the devil used on Eve. He said, did he say that this day you should surely die? But how long did Adam live? 930 years. How long is a day to God? 1,000. So if he said you're going to die in a day, that could be 1,000 years later, but the devil knew you didn't understand that.
That's right.
So he said, oh, you said you're going to die this day? See, the devil made you think it was today. It was a whole 1,000 years. It was a whole 1,000 years before it happened. So the same tricks he played before are the same ones he's playing now. Word games, semantics. He's always done that. All right, last verse.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 8, verse 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily.
Pay attention to that, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. So this is a warning to my brothers out on the corner. What you're doing, according to the Bible, is wicked. But know this, but because you didn't get caught right away,
therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
So since you didn't get caught right away and you've been rocking for a while, it sets hard into your heart. Well, I got away with it. I'm good. I'm good now. I'm invincible now. Now you walk out, you show yourself a little more than you did before. Go ahead.
Though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him.
So surely, although a sinner do these things, right? But then that fear the Most High, he knows he's going to do well. But eventually, you're going to get caught. Same way the devil say, oh no, you're not going to get caught today, but you're going to get caught. And when the devil gets his hands on you, he's going to put you through the ringer, even worse than he did before. And now that you know who the Most High God is, the punishment is going to be far more harsh when it happens. So this is the time to repent. This is the time. It doesn't say, and we're not even going to say that can happen overnight, but you got to start the process. You have to start to consider, do I want to continue to do this? Do I see the way things are going on in the world? And if there is that side that these brothers say, right, I got a lot to lose. Because let's say what you say is true. I'm going to be my own God. I can make my own plan and all that other stuff. But if what I say is true and you don't change, you burn in hell eternally. You have to consider that. And that and say Shalom.